and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, April 5th. We begin today with new developments in the Red Hill tainted water crisis.
Yeah, the IRS is announcing relief for those impacted residents who received huge tax bills. Our Mahealani Richardson has been following this story from the beginning, and she brings us the update. Okay, Mahia, give our viewers some background on these families. Why did they receive these huge tax bills?
Well, this was all civilian families, and these are families who were forced to live out of their homes for 3 to 4 months because of the Red Hill contamination crisis, which polluted the water with fuel. So they lived in hotels, they were getting bottled water, they were paying out of pocket, and then they got reimbursed by the Navy. They got reimbursed by the military, which they thought great. But then all of a sudden, come tax season, they get these 1099 forms saying that they now owe money that they were paid as if it was income. And so one family that I talked to, she had to pay $6,500 in federal and state taxes.
And there was confusion after that, too, about what they should do, right? Some tax advisors said, hold off on doing your taxes for now until we can figure this out.
Absolutely. There was confusion on all levels. The Navy Region Hawaii didn't know what to do. The DOD didn't have any answers. That's the Department of Defense. IRS was getting bombarded with questions, and families were coming to us. Even the tax preparers, they were basically saying, don't file the taxes just yet. If anything, file an extension. And I can tell you that over the last few days, more and more families have been contacting me asking, what are we going to do? Because tax deadline is literally a week and a half away.
Right. So tell us about this announcement today by the IRS.
So this announcement was by the IRS, and it was made by our members of Congress. So Senator Brian Schatz and Congressman Ed Case, the team basically announced that they had meetings with the IRS and said, no, this is wrong. In fact, our members of Congress repeatedly said that these families, these civilian families, it was wrong for them to get taxed. And so our first report was actually on February 15th. And if you think about it, that's a pretty fast turnaround time. So the families were pretty surprised. And I just spoke with Congressman Ed Case, and he repeatedly said that it was wrong for them to get taxed. And this sudden change was because of advocacy, because of the families, members of Congress, even the members of the military were saying, we need to fix this.
Yeah, and we have some sound from Congressman Ed Case that we want to play for you right now.
It was wrong. It was obviously wrong. There was really no question about it. Everybody that was involved knew it was wrong. You know, the delegation knew it was wrong. The constituents couldn't believe that they were being taxed. The Department of Defense, to their credit, knew it was wrong, and they jumped in right away. And, you know, they understood that perfectly, that to turn around and tax 1,700 displaced families on emergency assistance was, first of all, unfair to those families, and second, it wasn't the right message to be sending out there as we're all trying to get through Red Hills.
And so that was Congressman Ed Case. We literally spoke with him as he was on the way to the airport. He said that this is good news for the families. And so tonight on Hawaii News Now, we're going to be talking to more families about their reaction. Again, this is quite a relief for them because they had to pay thousands of dollars in taxes. We're also going to be talking to a tax preparer because they didn't have any guidance, and so now they have guidance that it is now exempt. And so we'll just get a little more detail about what those tax preparers do during this very busy tax season.
Yeah, absolutely. Some good news there for these residents who have gone through so much already. Thank you, Mahia, for your reporting.
Thank you.
Some other Red Hill updates we want to pass along. We're learning about half of the repairs at Red Hill that are required before defueling can begin are completed. 253 repairs are needed in total, and the military says 129 are reportedly complete. Defueling the tanks is expected to be completed in mid-2024. Another step in the process is set to start April 17th. That's called dewatering.
Dewatering in this case is the process separating water from the fuel and is essential to corrosion prevention. Because the Red Hill fuel tanks vent into the atmosphere, condensation accumulates, resulting in water sinking to the bottom of the tanks. The water is removed through the tank's bottom drain, where it is constantly monitored through a sight glass, so operators will know when the dewatering process is complete.
A response drill is also scheduled to be held tomorrow. A new dashboard has been created online for people to track the defueling process, and we're still awaiting the results of the investigation into the toxic firefighting foam spill. Military officials pledged to release video once the investigation is complete.
The Hawaii Department of Health is reporting a rise in COVID-19 hospitalizations. The DOH said the number of total people in the hospital with COVID has increased from 39 to 74 patients over the last week. That's up nearly 90%. This comes as COVID emergency funding comes to an end. State epidemiologist Dr. Sarah Kemble emphasized hospital capacity and encouraged residents to stay up to date with COVID vaccines.
The man who went on a violent rampage at a Walmart in Mililani in February has been ordered to undergo a mental fitness exam to see if he's fit to stand trial. Desmond Kekahuna is accused of intentionally crashing into 37-year-old mother of 5, Christelle Taliulu, who was pushing her baby in a stroller in the parking lot. Police say he also used a tire iron to beat her and a man who rushed to help her. Kekahuna pleaded not guilty in February to attempted murder and assault. 2 people were arrested after a multi-agency sweep of the dilapidated Uncle Billy's Hotel and Resort on the Big Island. Officials say the individuals had outstanding warrants and 10 trespassing citations. The sweep was conducted just after 6 a.m. with over 3 dozen officers from DoCare, Hawaii Police Department, and the State Sheriff's Division. Officers said the 3-story building was filled with rubbish, human waste, graffiti, hanging wires, and other trip hazards. Meanwhile, DLNR continues to seek a general fund appropriation from the legislature of at least $12.5 million for demolition of the building. It's also contracting security services. The people cited for trespassing are scheduled to appear in Hilo District Court on May 19th.
Well, a temporary solution to homelessness at Hawaii State Capitol could soon be popping up near Punchbowl Street. Our investigative reporter Allison Blair shows us how the tiny homes could be ready by this summer.
Governor Josh Green says an exact site for a pop-up kauhale hasn't been nailed down just yet, but added one of the sites under consideration is the lawn here in front of the Department of Education building across from Queens Hospital. For years, evidence of Hawaii's homeless crisis has tarnished just about every community in the state. The high cost of living and lack of affordable housing has forced thousands of people to live often in unsanitary conditions with their lives on full display. Now the newly elected governor wants to start moving people out of encampments into tiny homes.
We want something quick in a few places because law enforcement has said to us they don't want to have to sweep people. They would rather find shelter for people.
Here's a look at what he has in mind. They're called pallet shelters and are currently being used in Waimanalo to house people who'd been living on the beach.
I have a door and windows. You know, a floor, I can keep it clean.
Green says unlike this permanent village that was established in 2020, the new pop-up kauhale would be temporary. A place for people to get off the street until more permanent kauhale can be built. The idea is to place the pop-up site on state land somewhere close to the Capitol.
Between like 4 and 10 tiny homes, a small space so that a social worker or some kind of healthcare coordinator can be there, and then a bathroom. Something very simple.
When do you foresee that happening?
I don't know. 4 to 6 weeks would be a dream. It takes a little time because some of the resources have to come.
Right now, lawmakers are debating the budget. It's still unclear exactly how much will be set aside for both pop-up and permanent kauhale. Meanwhile, residents have mixed opinions about a village near the Capitol.
Probably not. I don't think so. I feel like it's just creating more mess.
Do you think that's a good idea to build these tiny homes temporarily?
Yes, it's a better idea
than letting people camp.
Yeah.
In Honolulu, Allison Blair, Hawaii News Now.
Former President Donald Trump is facing an unprecedented challenge, defending himself in criminal court while running for president at the same time. Nicole D'Antonio has more from Washington.
Former President Trump's run for the White House may have actually been boosted by his indictment on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records.
He has more support now than he ever had.
A senior advisor for Trump tells CBS News the charges give Trump a leg up politically. The campaign has raised millions of dollars in recent days, even offering a T-shirt with a fake mugshot.
What they're doing to Trump, targeting him, is to stop him from running. They think they're going to take him out, but what it's doing is it's just making him stronger.
Trump responded on social media Wednesday morning, saying the people see what's going on and will not allow it to continue. Tremendous spirit right now in the Republican Party. But we're still 10 months out from the first votes being cast in the 2024 Republican primaries, and not everyone is happy with the former president.
No one is above the law. He certainly should be arrested or arraigned for all of the mistakes and lies and prejudices that he's caused in our country.
Trump's lawyers say they will try to get the case dismissed long before the voters go to the polls.
Is it a motion to dismiss for prejudicial pretrial publicity? I mean, is there a place in America, but particularly, is there a place in New York where Donald Trump can get a fair trial? That will be the argument of the defense.
Trump's next court appearance is set for December 4th. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
And for more analysis on all things happening with this investigation and this case, let's bring in HNN's White House correspondent, John Decker. John, thank you so much for joining us here today. Now, in the last few hours, we learned that former Vice President Mike Pence will not appeal a federal judge's ruling ordering him to testify on January 6th in the special counsel probe. What's behind this decision?
The former vice president was largely pleased with this initial ruling that was made by a federal judge here in Washington. Under the ruling, the former vice president does not have to reveal his conversations, his communications with former President Trump concerning January 6th itself, that particular date. However, he must disclose to the grand jury all of his conversations, all of his communications with the former president in the days and weeks leading up to January 6th. And also keep in mind, the former vice president has spoken about this quite a bit. He's written about this as well in a book that he's just published. The difference being is this particular testimony will be sworn testimony under oath. So you have to factor that in as it relates to this grand jury testimony, which will likely come sometime this month.
Got it. Now, looking back in the case with former President Trump, the next court date has been set for early December. But between now and then, what's happening?
A lot's happening. As far as the defense of the former president is concerned, they will submit by a date certain, which is in early July, motions related to this case. We already know that the lawyers representing former President Trump plan to file a motion to dismiss with this judge. They've discussed the idea of also filing a motion to change venue from Manhattan, perhaps to Staten Island. That could potentially be a better venue for them in the sense that there are more Republican voters in Staten Island. Also, between now and December, when that pretrial hearing takes place, we also know that there will be a lot of discovery that will happen concerning this particular case. Specifically, the DA's office must share with the defense for Donald Trump all of the evidence that they plan to use in their case against him, which will likely begin in January or February or March of next year.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. We want to turn now to the latest on some international news. We do know President Biden has offered more support and pledged more financial support to the war in Ukraine and their efforts. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on that front?
This is an additional $2.5 billion that's being pledged to help out Ukraine, its military specifically. Contained in that package will be $500 million in ammunition for howitzers in particular. In addition to that, sophisticated air defense systems. These air defense systems, Dylan, have proved to be invaluable to the Ukraine military since the war began in February of last year.
HNN's White House correspondent John Decker, thank you so much for joining us, John, here on This Is Now.
A historic meeting today on U.S. soil. The president of Taiwan is meeting with American leaders in California, and China says the U.S. is playing with fire by having this meeting. Skylar Henry explains.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy welcomed Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen to the Reagan Presidential Library in California Wednesday. It's the highest level meeting on U.S. soil for a Taiwanese leader in decades.
The friendship between the people of Taiwan and America is a matter of profound importance to the free world
Tsai is hoping to shore up support for her democratic nation as the threat of a takeover from China grows larger. And she was met with a bipartisan group of lawmakers promising to stand beside her country.
The urgency of keeping the beacon of freedom shining cannot be understated.
Congress has stepped up its criticism of the Chinese Communist Party in recent months, though the Biden administration, like many before it, still wants to avoid major conflicts.
Our objective remains the same: to have peace, to have stability.
Beijing opposed the meeting and just hours earlier launched a military patrol operation in the Taiwan Strait. Last August, China's military conducted live fire exercises after former Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Tsai in Taiwan, just 100 miles from China's coast.
How high tensions are.
Isaac Stone Fish runs a China-focused risk and research company. He says these congressional meetings send a clear message.
It shows to Beijing that parts of the U.S. administration are willing to defend Taiwan in the case of a Chinese invasion.
Official U.S. policy recognizes Taiwan as a part of China, but President Biden has said he would provide military support to Taiwan if China invaded. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
A destructive storm system that so far spawned at least 10 tornadoes has now claimed the lives of 4 people. Several others are injured. Laura Aguirre has more on the severe weather.
Bollinger County, Missouri, hit by a deadly storm in the early morning hours Wednesday. The number of fatalities could rise in the coming hours as state highway police there say search and rescue efforts continue. This savage storm system, threatening about 60 million Americans, is moving east after battering parts of Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, and Michigan.
Oh my God!
Kelowna, Illinois, still assessing major damage after being hit by at least one of 7 reported tornadoes to roar through that state Tuesday.
I mean, we're lucky. I don't know. I look at all this and I'm just like amazed.
We're just hoping that it gets by us and we don't have no more damage, but that's what we're praying for now.
Oh, she is a beauty. Oh my God.
In neighboring Iowa, tornadoes like this one in Pleasantville Tuesday weren't the only continuing weather threat. Hail the size of baseballs or even larger reported here and in several cities across the Midwest. To the south, more hail and tornado watches in effect for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, including Little Rock, heavily damaged in last week's severe storms. The National Weather Service warns everyone in the affected central and southern regions to heed all severe weather advisories through Wednesday. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
And let's give you a live look outside at traffic. This is our traffic camera at the H1 and Kaunohi overpass. We're looking westbound. Things are flowing nice and smoothly today with no reports of any major traffic accidents or incidents, although we are keeping a close eye on the latest on the sinkhole in Windward Oahu in the Hauula area.
Yeah, and you can see lots of sunshine and blue skies out there as well. Today we have Ben in for Guy with your latest forecast.
The satellite imagery shows more of those showers and clouds coming in for northeast Hawaii Island, and a few of those showers still on the heavier side in the vicinity of the island of Kauai, but high pressure is building back in. That's giving us the trade winds and a couple of high clouds from that departing disturbance that gave us the heavy downpours on Sunday. For today, we do have a chance of morning showers for Kauai and a few more showers for Hilo, with highs in the upper 70s for Hilo, into the mid 80s for some spots. A little bit breezy for you in Maui County at 86 degrees. And over the next 7 days, trade winds are going to be with us. A few more showers for Saturday and Sunday, and then stronger trades to begin the upcoming week.
Well, you might not have ever heard of a small Minnesota town called Frost, but it's in the record books for a unique collection. And there's even a small tie to Hawaii. Here's that story.
Frigid winters make Frost a fitting name for a Minnesota town.
I always say it was the best place to raise my children.
It's a small community just north of the Iowa border.
Everyone knows everybody, and it's just a fun-loving town.
Fun-loving with one very unique distinction. Frost is home to about 200 people, and about 100,000 hats.
Right here behind me on the wall, there's 1,000 hats on display.
And this is just a fraction of what Scott Legrid has. His late father, Bucky, started this collection in 1967, and Scott took it over when he passed away. Bucky was a farmer who thought colorful caps of all kinds blended well together, like a melting pot of headwear.
Did he ever wear these hats?
No, he hardly wore a hat. That's the funny thing.
But it didn't stop Bucky's obsession. He was part of a nationwide group of collectors, and when word got out, people sent him more hats than he could handle. So some went on display, while others ended up in boxes. Those boxes filled 3 semi-trailers to the brim.
Implement dealers, seed dealers, feed dealers, oil companies, tool companies.
In this collection, no 2 caps are the same.
But it's not all farm stuff.
No, there's...
A&W, I saw Red Owl back there.
Yep.
You don't see Red Owl anymore.
No, there's anything and everything for companies.
It's history told through hats. Scott estimates that 75% of the companies on this garage wall don't even exist anymore. A sense of pride and preservation for Bucky, but not his biggest accomplishment. You'll find that in Scott's basement.
So you weren't kidding when you said your dad got every John Deere hat from every state.
No. Here's the proof right here. He's got all the states.
And even the Canadian provinces.
50 states there, yep.
It took Bucky years to amass this collection. John Deere caps from Hawaii and Alaska are included, plus all the Canadian provinces and a variety of other countries. The entire cap collection got Bucky in the Guinness Book of World Records 2 different times. He'd even haul them to senior living centers to entertain people.
The easiest way to describe the relationship is he was my best friend. So we played together, worked together, farmed together.
And when Bucky passed away in 2011, Scott just couldn't let the hats go.
Sometimes I go looking for them, and sometimes they find me.
People keep sending them to Scott, and he happily accepts because he knows that's what Bucky would do. Every hat makes Scott feel like a part of his dad is still here. It's a tip of the cap to a great father, a great farmer, and a great collector.
Just proud of my father and what he did, and brings back some of the memories of when we went and got hat collections.
Impressive.
Very impressive.
I wish they would have showed the Hawaii John Deere hat. I didn't know we had a big John Deere.
I actually looked the story up online, and they did show an image of it, and it looks very similar to all the other states. So nothing super distinct there, but it definitely was on his wall. Hats off to them.
Very cool. Well, some good news, you guys, and this is for our vegan viewers out there. A Japanese food manufacturer has developed a new plant-based egg. That's right. Ingredients such as carrots, white kidney beans are used to reproduce the rich and fluffy egg texture. Now, frozen types of plant-based eggs have been around since 2022, but the new Ever egg can be stored at room temperature, get this, for a year. The move comes as, you know, egg prices reach record highs in Japan. Yep, due to the rising raw material costs and, of course, avian flu. Developers hope to promote the food to younger generations as well.
What do you think, Ashley? You think it's good?
You know, carrots and white kidney beans, sure, yeah.
I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised with all the delicious plant-based items out there. So I would give it a try. I'm not opposed to it.
The Japanese made it. I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, for sure. Let's end today with a live look outside. This is over Kaka'ako area, the waterfront park by Jabsum. Thank you all so much for joining us here on This Is Now. Ashley is back at 4 o'clock on KHNL.
Aloha.